ॐ यथाग्नेर्दाहिका शक्तिः रामकृष्णे स्थिता हिया सर्वविद्यास्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहम्. It is with a heart filled with great gratitude that I stand here. This is the birthdays of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother and Swamiji are the three of the holiest days in our Utsav calendar, and whoever can be present in Belur Math on these occasions is truly very fortunate. And many of us present here live in Calcutta, in Howrah and in nearby areas and are able to come here more often. But especially for those who come from other parts of India and also from outside, this is something very special because you don't get to see the puja that often. And for many who come from distant places, this probably is the only opportunity for them to see such a great gathering and at this most sacred occasion. It's also an honor to be invited to speak about Holy Mother's life and teachings. And many of the functions organized in honor of Thakur, Mother and Swamiji, this is the standard subject to speak on her life and teachings. So while it's an honor, I also do so with great hesitation, partly because it is easier to speak on an abstract topics on Vedanta than about Thakur, Mother and Swamiji. First of all, Thakur, Mother and Swamiji are too close to our hearts. They're too personal, and no words are enough to be able to truly express of what their life means to us. And a second cause for hesitation in speaking about Mother and Thakur and Swamiji is this kind of a nagging feeling in the heart. Have I really understood them enough to be able to share or speak about them? When we read Swamiji's complete works, we see that he spoke very little about Sri Ramakrishna. It's so much about Vedanta. He even said that he at one time had thought about writing Thakur's biography, but then didn't do it. And so in order to speak or write about Thakur, Mother and Swamiji, we first need to understand them. So what does understanding a life really means? Clearly, a life is more than simply a collection of events or episodes in their lives. Interesting as those events may be, but it's not simply a collection of those events. Life is not also a bunch of sayings, inspiring as those sayings may be. If we look back at our own life and say, how would I sum up my life? And even our own little lives are not simply a bunch of incidents that occurred throughout or the things that we said on various occasions. Now, if this is true of ordinary lives like us, how much more true it is of the life of Holy Mother. So there are clearly some major challenges we experience when we try to study the lives of Thakur, Mother and Swamiji. There are two kinds of challenges really. First is we may get very dazzled by a few external dramatic events or characteristics and miss the larger, deeper truth behind their lives. In Sri Ramakrishna's life, of course, there are things which are so beyond our human understanding, human imagination also. He's frequently going into samadhi at the least hint of the divine, the presence of the divine. His sadhanas the enormous and the amazing number of sadhanas that he did. These are all very dazzling events. Even so, in Swami Vivekananda's life as well, his dramatic appearance at the Parliament of Religions in Chicago, his oratory, his inspiring words. So these very impressive, inspiring and dazzling events, we need to ask, can we say that we really know Thakur or know Swamiji just by these great events that took place, or whether there was something deeper behind these events? In contrast, the second challenge is almost the absence of any such dazzling events in Mother's life. In fact, many of the direct disciples also initially did not understand the full truth behind Mother's life. We remember the Durga Puja that was first organized at Artpur, and Swamiji writes in a letter from America, he says something to the effect that it's craziness to worship Mother Durga in the image when the living Durga is still in the midst. Holy Mother was there. So I've heard from many of the senior Swamis of the order that it was Narendra or Vivekananda who was the first to even bring it to the attention of his own Guru Bhais that the greatness of Holy Mother. We also remember what the Holy Mother's mother, Shama Sundari Devi, once said to her, that she said to Sharada, I would like to have you as my daughter in every life. And we remember what Mother said, if you want to come, you come, I'm not going to come back again. We see that it was not easy for even the contemporaries of Holy Mother to understand her greatness. So the dazzle and the impressive events in Thakur and Swamiji's life and the apparent absence of them in Holy Mother's life, both these are hurdles to be overcome when we try to understand them. The true natures of Thakur Ma and Swamiji are hidden behind the visible extraordinariness of Thakur and Swamiji and the apparent ordinariness of Mother's life. We see, Swamiji once said that Thakur was all jnana inside and bhakti outside, whereas he was the opposite. And if we read many of the contemporary accounts of Sri Ramakrishna's life, he is often described as a bhakta, because that's how it looked from outside. But then Swamiji, who saw the deeper truth, said, no, he was all jnana inside. On the other hand, Swamiji, the lion of Vedanta, and he says, well, really, he's all bhakti inside. So, all this I mentioned to show that what appears externally, what appears outside, may not be the full truth. We also know when Thakur told Baburam Maharaj, Swami Premanandaji, who was seen as an embodiment of love, and Thakur told him that you will not have bhava, you will have knowledge. Again, something not immediately apparent when we look at Swami Premanandaji's life. There's the incident in Varanasi. Many of us who are students of Holy Mother's life know about it, when a woman went to meet a Holy Mother in Kashi. Mother was sitting and there was Golapma also, and mistakenly this person thought that Golapma was Sharada Devi. So she went and saluted her, and Golapma said, no, go there and do it. And Mother was in a playful mood, and so when that lady went to Mother, and she said, no, it's not me, it's her. So they just went back and forth until then Golapma very characteristically just scolded her and said, can't you see the difference between a human face and a divine face? Again, we see that externally, that someone could even mistake, when Holy Mother is sitting in the same room, that this person could mistake another person to be Holy Mother. And that is why different people have different estimates about Thakur, Mother and Swamiji. And this was true during their lifetime, and this is true later also through literature and through the talks and lectures that people give. Now, how to get to the real person, real person who is behind, beneath, oftentimes hidden behind these incidents and behind these words. So, more than simply reading their lives is the study, prayer, worship, meditation, and trying to live according to the way they expected of us. If we try to do it, we stand a better chance of getting to the truth of behind their lives. And as our understanding of Holy Mother grows, we might begin to see Holy Mother in a very different light than before. And everyone will have their own discovery. It would be pointless for anyone to say, this is how Holy Mother was and not something else. As Thakur often said also, Bhagavaner iti kora jayana, the same is true about these great personalities as well. None of us can ever dare to say that I know exactly what Holy Mother was and this is who she is. And so Mother, when we pray to her, when we meditate, when we reflect on her teachings, Mother will reveal herself to us, and she does not have to reveal herself in the same way to every one of us. And we see this Mother's revelation in different forms to different people, in the different reminiscences left behind by her disciples and devotees, and through lectures and writings on Holy Mother. And that's why, even though we have now 3 speakers today, and there have been many different speakers who have spoken at different times on Holy Mother, while there will be a lot of commonalities, there will be something different as well, because all of us are trying to express Mother's life the way that has been revealed to us through our own efforts at meditating on her. We see in Mother's life, she has been studied as a teacher, as a guru, the Sharda Devi as a mother, Sharda Devi as a goddess. So there are different aspects in which Mother's life has been studied. Through apparently commonplace incidents and words, we begin to see how uncommon Mother was. And that is why I like to call her by the phrase, she was uncommonly common. Now, what do I mean by this phrase, uncommonly common? The quest for success, and every one of us, we all want to be successful. And whatever our definition of success is, and whichever field we are working in, we all want to be successful. Now, in order to be successful, we need a strong ego. We want to stand out, we want to leave a mark on life. And this requires strengthening of the ego. Now, in spiritual life, where the ultimate goal is the relinquishing of the ego, we begin our quest with the unripe ego, kacha ami, as Thakur said, and then try to replace it with the ripe ego, the paka ami. And it's much easier to renounce the paka ami when the time comes to transcend it. Now, in Mother's life, we see a complete absence of the ego. In a hymn composed by Swami Abhedananda ji, one of the epithets he used for Mother is Ramakrishna Gata Prana, one whose being is absorbed in Ramakrishna, one whose being is absorbed in one with Thakur. Whatever Mother said, whatever she did, there was no ego in her at all. Externally, Mother looked very common, but a total self-effacement and her absence of ego made her truly uncommon. And that is why I like to describe her as uncommonly common. When we study Mother's life in depth and meditate on it, we see that Mother was very unique, truly unique. Her apparent commonness stands out from the commonness of the rest of us. Our commonness is because we are common. Mother's commonness is because her uniqueness is hidden by her absence of the ego. It seems that once one patient who had gone to a psychiatrist for some evaluation tests, and then the doctor told him, I have good news for you, and that is, you are not suffering from inferiority complex. You are inferior. So our commonness is like that. Our commonness shows because we are common. But mother's commonness shows because her uniqueness is hidden, is kind of hidden behind the absence of the ego in mother's life. Now, it is this absence of the ego in mother's life that gives her this amazing strength, fearlessness, the joy. We remember mother said that from the moment she met Thakur, she said, my heart has been filled with joy, as an overflowing, as a pitcher filled with joy. Now, mother's commonness is also the source of her supreme power. Mother is very powerful. And this was acknowledged by Sri Ramakrishna himself. He said, if she had not been so pure, then he would not have been able to keep up to this highest standard of spirituality. When Hriday, his nephew, was rude to Holy Mother, and Thakur warned him, he said, if you take few liberties with me, there is some hope. But if the one within Mother, if that one gets angry with you, if Mother is upset with you, then even Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva cannot stop you. Mother was also conscious of her power. We remember the incident when she was feeding this young first generation of disciples, the direct disciples, and Thakur had told them not to eat a lot at night so that they could get up early and meditate. And when he found that she was really feeding them a lot at night, he told her, no, don't give them so much. And then mother said, no, that's my department. That's not exactly what she said, but that's what she meant. And she said, you don't worry, I will take care of that. So she was very conscious of her capacity and her power. It's also something that most of us have seen, that mother is able to connect very easily with people, irrespective of from which part of the world they come from. Whether it's east or west, the cultural or linguistic boundaries don't become a hurdle to connect with Holy Mother. This happened during Mother's time. We see that obviously when Sister Nivedita, Mrs. Oli Bull, Josephine MacLeod, and Sister Christine, these devotees and admirers from the Western world came, they were able to connect with Mother without any difficulty, even though Mother didn't know English and they didn't know Bengali. Well, Nivedita learned a little bit later on, but when they first came, they didn't know it. And that's true even today. Having been now about 15 years outside India, I can see how easy it is for people to connect with Mother even before they are able to connect even with Swamiji. And as Swami Tattvasaranandaji mentioned about the power of Mother, that she arguably could be even more powerful than Thakur and Swamiji. I would like to share with you something. This is what I wanted to share with you. That as many of us here among devotees and many of us among the monks here, we first came in contact with, and some of us came, the first book we read was about Thakur, but many of us first were attracted to this movement through reading Swamiji. At least that was true in my case. And I remember that this kind of, as a student, high school student, the personal shrine I had, the Swamiji was in the middle, and Thakur and Ma were in the behind. And when I was very young, I used to have this kind of a small game just to myself, ask myself the question that if I were given a boon to meet one of the three, who would I choose? And I must confess, when I was a teenager, the answer was always Swamiji. I want to meet Swamiji first. And then as I grew older, and then somehow in my shrine, Thakur came in the middle, and then I think now if someone were to ask me the same question, I think without hesitation I would say it would be Mother. Holy Mother's shrine is the smallest shrine here in Belur Math, but I don't think anyone has done this survey or even done the timed how much time people spend in each of the temples. But I would dare say that this is true for both sadhus and devotees. The amount of time people spend in Mother's temple is much more than they spend in any of the other temples. This is, again, not a big research study, but this is the general observation that many have felt. And this could be one indication also to support what Tattvasaranandaji said about the power of a Holy Mother. Swami Shivanandaji, Mahapurush Maharaj is saying, I will just conclude by just mentioning two things. We know from mythology that the Divine Mother's parts, 51 parts of her body was strewn in 51 different places. And each place where a part of Mother's body fell became a Shakti Pitha, a profoundly powerful place where people's prayers are answered, and it's a very powerful place. And after Mother's Mahasamadhi in 1920, Mahapurush Maharaj told the assembled devotees and monks, they said, Mahapurush Maharaj said, that while each part of Mother's body became a Shakti Pitha, here in this spot, the whole of Holy Mother, whole of the Divine Mother is here. And so this is the greatest Shakti Pitha of modern times. We don't need to visit all 51 places. We just come here to Mother's place and we find everything here. And this is what Mahapurush Maharaj said. Where will Mother go leaving her children? She has not gone anywhere. She is now all-pervading. Previously, when she was in one place, we had to take the trouble to go and see her. Now, we need not go anywhere. Wherever we may be, if we pray to her with devotion, we will receive her grace and see her. This is such a great consolation. And as I said, this is a great consolation, especially for those who are not able to visit the Holy Mother's temple every day or often. That wherever we may be, in whichever part of the world, and whichever language we use to communicate and pray to Mother, Mother is accessible to all of us. And finally, speaking of Mother's power, Mother as Shakti, I will conclude by reading from an extract from a letter that Baburam Maharaj wrote. It's a well-known letter. The letter is written in Bengali. This is an English translation. This is what Swami Premanandaji said. Who can really understand the greatness of Holy Mother? True it is, there have been great holy women in past ages, such as Sita, Savitri, Sri Radha. But in this present age, before our very eyes, we see Holy Mother surpass them all by her exemplary life. She is difficult to understand because she keeps her superhuman powers hidden. In the life of Sri Ramakrishna, we have seen these powers expressed. Many times during the day, he would go into ecstasy and samadhi. We saw him always God intoxicated. But Mother holds these powers suppressed within herself. How much greater her superhuman power must be. Hail Mother, Hail Mother, Hail Mother. Hail Mother is Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, the embodiment of Shakti, the Divine Mother. So on this auspicious day, on this sacred day, I pray that through the infinite grace and power of Mother, may our unripe egos be transformed into ripe egos. And as we continue to do Mother's work, may we leave behind our ripe ego and rest in the light and power of Holy Mother's love forever.